ask how many sales total you have so far?
Yeah, close to 100,000.
That's a ton. When did you launch?
At the beginning of this year, we only really started scaling very recently, right?
Can I just do that math? I mean, can I do 100,000 sales times 60 a piece? You guys have done $6 million in total revenue life to date.
I think this month, yes, we're in the six figures. Everything else you see is custom built.
Hey folks, my guest today is Ricardo. He's the co-founder of DreamStories, harnessing generative AI to bring immersive storytelling and image creation to life.
So I started noticing this repeatable pattern that I figured you can build services around this, right? Something that grows with you and kind of, matches the phase that you're in.
Before launching the company in 2023, he was VP of growth at a body scan startup called Kenko Health. Prior to that, he founded a snack company and was a founding member of Spotify's US team. Ricardo, you ready to take us to the top?
Absolutely.
All right, people hear Spotify and early and they assume you got rich off options. Is that accurate?
Fairly accurate, yes. I was early enough that it made sense, yes.
What year was that?
So I joined in 2009, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yes. And is it fair to say, because I want to understand the build up obviously to DreamStories.ai, did you basically take a big chunk of the money you made there and sort of plow it into the new venture, or how did you think about that, those options?
Yeah, no, part of it, yes, but I did start a few companies in between as well that I've also had an exit for. So a mix of both, right? So the Spotify got the car and the house, and then the other stuff got the company going.
Fair enough. Okay, let's not bury the lead here. Let's get an overview of DreamStories first, and then we'll go get your sort of history between Spotify and DreamStories. So what is DreamStories.ai?
Yeah, so DreamStories.ai is I usually describe it as either an agentic content studio or personalized content studio. So this is actually an idea that I had, it actually dates back to Spotify, funny enough. From, I initially at Spotify, I was on the content team. So I dealt, as you can imagine, with the large catalog we had there. And I started noticing that there was content in the platform that was personalized. This could be birthday songs or love songs and so forth. And back then I had this thought experiment, if you will, about I wonder if one day we'll have Beyonce sing a song for you or something like that, right? And this was really just an experiment. There was no thought experiment, right? There was no AI to do it. There was certainly not generative AI. But it's interesting that throughout my career, I've always worked somewhat around personalization and trying to do personalization at scale. As you mentioned, I founded a snack company where I was trying to do personalized nutrition for people with the body scanner, which is actually a company by Daniel Ek as well of Spotify. We're almost doing the same thing in the reverse manner. You can think of healthcare as an artisan good, right? You sit there and there's a doctor across from you performing a service for you one-on-one. And with Kenko Health, we are trying to scale it, right, at mass, do a good service, a personalized service at scale. And so DreamStories is kind of a connection of these things in trying to do that for content. Essentially, because when, as you mentioned, I started the company in 2023, this was around the times you started seeing stuff like Stable Diffusion come out, with the in Mid-Journey and so forth, with the image stuff. And when I saw it, to be honest, I had this moment, oh shit, this is the moment where these things actually become possible. Because in the meantime, you've seen stuff like Suno come up, the music generative music stuff.
SUNO?
Yes. There's stuff like Suno. There's a few other models out there that let you create personalized music, if you will. I actually think this is more interesting for other use cases other than music. And that's kind of, we built the company around the experimentation around those contents, right? And so we decided to start with the family content, particularly children's books, as a first market. But essentially, we're building the real core of what we're building is the platform that allows you to take a consumer that is not technical, right, and give them the ability to create and basically create content for self-consumption, right, of their own family.
Interesting. And I'm just trying to think, like, what's the comparable, right? So are parents still buying physical children's books for their kids, and are you going to go take that market share, or sort of how do you think about that? What's the revenue model?
Yeah, it's actually it's not a coincidence that things lined up as I looked at the behavior at home with my own child, and I started noticing that with my family, like, we read to our son every night, and I started noticing this is kind of a recurrent behavior that happens every single night. There's something interesting about children's content as well that is it's repetitive to some degree, but it changes after a while. So a child will want to read or consume the same content multiple times in a week and then move on to the next thing. So I started noticing this repeatable pattern that I figured you can build services around this, right? Something that grows with you and kind of, matches the phase that you're in. It also happens that I'm Portuguese. My wife is Swedish, so we're, similar culture but different languages. And so I realized, there's a lot of people out there that we could create content that will be hard to find in stores, right? But to your question about if I'm looking to take that market, it's actually still a growing segment. It's actually one of the ones in books that continues to grow, in part because parents want to get kids away from tablets and and that digital formats, particularly at bedtime. Um, but that's kind of how I saw an opportunity to use that as an entry market, right? But also one that is filled with sort of what I'll describe as non-tech players. As you can imagine, there's a lot of investment in video and other formats. You saw Sora come out, with a generative AI video, and I have no interest in playing in a market that has very diluting margins, because of these extremely overly well-funded players, bringing the cost either to zero, right? Essentially. So
what's the status though right now in the company? Are you pre-revenue, post-revenue?
no, we're post-revenue, so we're selling. We've done it in a very iterative manner, right? So we basically wanted to get to market as soon as possible with a prototype, right? Which catches a segment of it. The way I try to explain to people is that you can imagine that there's people that literally just want to, sit in front of the TV or something and just be something fat to them. And there's people that have a lot of agency. They want to create their own stuff, and they'll go to the trouble of doing it. And we started with like a very simple product where all you need to do is really like submit the picture, as you can see there, and basically it will create a content for you. And as we are evolving, right, again, as we collect more data, we're evolving it to become, give you sort of more agency, right? Essentially like being able to be more tailored to what you want, right? So we got a lot of requests around this, into essentially make it better for the, more personalized in a way.
This is a company I just invested in here in Austin, Texas. They're a general store, so maybe we'll get a children's book about Ian and Jess, the co-founders, on this. But this is interesting.
In this
okay,
case, you will be only for one of them, but the first one, right? We actually do allow multiple characters in the book, but you currently have to do it one at a time. But it's fine. Let's see. I
so
don't
when
know
will
which,
I hit
which
it? When,
phrase, yeah, I don't
when
know
will I
which
hit a
phrase will be picked up,
paywall?
but we'll see. You can keep going. And then essentially after you create the content and decided this is actually what you want to do, you see it picked up the woman. But yeah, and then later, if you keep going, eventually you will hit the paywall to create the full book for you.
Interesting. So you capture me as a lead. Okay, you get my phone number so you can follow up if you want. And then what, I see the paywall after that?
Yeah, you're gonna get to the item. We'll give you a nice
12
discount code.
purchase. So what's the total price going to be?
Yeah, with this discount, it'll be 48.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So are people making their kid the hero?
Generally, yeah. We have sometimes pets, but the vast majority will put their kid, right?
Wait, so where's the paywall? When will I hit the paywall? Oh, order book.
There we go.
Oh, I see. Is this accurate? So you have 648 sales so far?
No, we have more sales. Those are reviews, right?
Oh. Sorry. Can I ask how many sales total you have so far?
Yeah, close to 100,000. Those are
wow.
Of course. Yep.
That's a ton. When did you launch?
We launched at the beginning of this year. We only really started scaling very recently, right?
That's wild. I mean, and was your price always like $60 a pop?
Yeah, we've actually played a little bit with it, sort of back and forth. Generally, it's been around $60, and that's the place we've been sort of most comfortable with.
I mean, Ricardo, you know my next question. Can I just do that math? I mean, can I do 100,000 sales times 60 a piece? You guys have done $6 million in total revenue life to date.
You can do the maths. I will say that, of course, we have some discounts, like you mentioned, the 48, right? So if you want to get accurate, we also have some volume discounts as well that we do, and so you do.
Well, that's fine, but still, this is impressive. Fair to say, even with discounts, can I just say I'll be really conservative? You've done over $3 million in lifetime sales so far. Is that fair to say? That'd be like a 50% discount on the $60 on average.
I'll say ballpark.
Okay, I mean that's pretty cool. I mean, I would not have expected when I was prepping for the thing. I'm going, okay, I don't know if they're live yet. Looking at the website, it's so simple. But then the first hint that you were bigger than I thought was when I saw the number of reviews, which is incredible. What would you sort of credit that kind of, I mean, it's a very simple onboarding process. Is that part of the magic? It's so simple, it feels like magic.
Correct. To be honest with you, I always wanted it to be like that. In general, the companies I worked at, I've always wanted to kind of feel like hand holding a little bit, kind of guide you through in a linear path. Actually, only recently we're able to get it that way. This is kind of where I see this agentic products going to, where it's like, it just again takes you, it doesn't make you learn, a SaaS platform or whatever, just guides you over. So that's kind of always wanted to do. That's also where you only started scaling it more recently, right? Because we started essentially being able to deliver this kind of experience, right?
Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure. I feel like I'm missing something, right? Because I'm trying to. Once I hear what your volume is, I'm going, wait, holy crap! How is it getting all this traffic? So I stick your thing in Ahrefs, but this clearly is not your growth channel because you're only getting about 61 hits per month via DreamStories. Are you like iframed into some other sites somewhere? How are you getting all these sales?
I mean, we're getting a lot via Facebook essentially. So we actually not doing so much organic here.
I see. Okay, so you're like you have a community on. Tell me more about the Facebook strategy.
Yeah, no, I mean, so one thing I've done quite a lot at Spotify and after was paid acquisition, right? Actually, with Spotify, we were extremely early, like on the mobile ad networks and so on and so forth. So it's not a community, right? Most of it is actually paid acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that also one of the things I like about sort of the way I built these things is, or the category, if you will, is that the competition tends to be very like one-time oriented. And, if you're doing if you're doing paid acquisition, it's a bit, obviously it's a bidding model. So or an auction model. So you want to outbid people. So of course it's kind of just key to take something that is like a one-time purchase and turn it into an episodic thing that happens multiple times over, right?
Mm-hmm. This makes a lot of sense.
If you can do it, so of course, if you can do it, you can make the economics work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I gotta dive deeper here because there's something to learn here. I mean, you've done paid spend. It sounds like a lot of places, and you're using it to launch your startup, which is pretty incredible in terms of a day one strategy. Most people wait to do paid ads until they have like a lot of scale. So I guess how do you know what you're willing to pay on it? To get a new $60 sale.
Mm-hmm. How do I know? Is that the question?
Yeah. What is your target? Like, are you trying to spend under $10 on the ad to get the sale on Facebook ads, or under $5? How do you get the ratio?
Yeah, no, I'd like to, right? But what I usually tell people, and that's is a litmus test in every single company I've worked. I said, okay, you haven't done any ads. What do you expect your CAC to be? I usually tell that you should ballpark it to around ballpark around what their AOV is, which is not a great answer, but it tends to be the case. Like the agencies, a lot of the times, they kind of stop spending.
Just to be clear, Ricardo, for folks that don't know the acronyms, AOV, you're basically saying you should ballpark that the what you'll spend on Facebook ads is equal to the average order value of the first checkout, right. So $60 for you or $48 for you.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, that's like I said, if you're going to start, right, you want a budget. Let's say you're aiming to get 50 sales per week or something. That used to be traditionally the threshold until Facebook considers that your campaigns have learned. So does if you have to budget, you kind of make the maths from that, right? So if it's 60, let's ballpark it to 60. Then, of course, why do you do that? Well, because there's a bit of arbitrage here. A lot of people use bid caps and whatnot, and so they stop bidding at when it crosses under the sort of the one bar. And so, like I said, if you're competing in
under one what?
Other one ROAS. So essentially this idea of like you spend $60 to get $60, right? So does you have a ROAS of 1, right? Of course, by the way, you want to have higher than that, right? You want to have 2, 3, 4, whatever you can get, right? But I'm trying to say is that a lot of the times there's a bit of an arbitrage around 1 because that's where everyone else stops spending up until that point, right? And so essentially, if you can take like something that is if your competition is doing, let's say 60, right? If you imagine, and of course you can now beat above it because you have either repeat behavior or so forth, then of course you cannot beat them and you can make the economics work, right? And in this category, not coincidentally, the reason why I picked this category is because there was an existing behavior which was gifting, right, around people gifting to others. And and you can search like personalized books, right? There's a category with a lot of products, some better than others, and the behavior was there. My challenge was essentially just to build something that is better or slightly better and be able to just outbid them, right?
Yep. What are the rest of the economics in there? Like how do you really grow this thing, right? Because if you're spending $60 just to get the sort of the customer email, right, to try and resell on the second thing, but your margin also gets cut a little bit too, right? Because you actually have to print and ship these books, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, we do. But like I said, the upside of this is essentially the repeat purchases, right? The essentially getting
Yeah.
people to do it. In this case, you put an adult, right? But what happens a lot of the times, and this is actually one of the things where the only people that I've seen doing it, we have multiple characters per book. Like I said, in this case, to add both of them, you'd need to in the book. There's a button to add someone else. So what ends up happening is that a lot of the times people will add different members of the family, cousins, so on and so forth, and as a consequence they end up getting what I call reverse books. So essentially, can I get the exact same book but the other kid's the hero, right? So they just reverse, right? um, and it's a common behavior we see. Of course, the stories are episodic, as you can see there, and we have a number of templates that we created with artists, but eventually I want this to be infinite, right? Essentially, and that's what we're working on, the infinite content machine that essentially can, you like dinosaurs, great. You can have, you can keep on going with dinosaurs, for the rest of a journey, right?
How are you, is this hard coded? You're programmatically running the economics on how to offer the discounts, or are you using some plugin or API tool to figure out how to drive up conversion and AOV on this page?
No, that's all in-house, actually. We built that ourselves.
Really interesting. I imagine you built some secret sauce into that no one else has. Is that true? And if so, can you give us a hint?
You mean the sort of the general e-commerce stuff?
Yeah, I mean, right. There's a lot of these tools that help you like drive up AOV on the last page, right? Like, double the order, increase the size, get one for your friend, discounting, right? You chose to build it from scratch for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is that there's a lot of things out there that work very well for e-commerce sites, or with a lot of SKUs and sort of I don't want to call it generic products, because I don't want to imply there's anything bad about them. But in my case, we both Kenko, the snack company, in this one, it's generally I'm trying to build a service. So something that essentially feels more like a service, and so does I end up building a lot of stuff like that is actually custom. So what you see here, this is Shopify, right? And it's very standard. Everything else you see is custom built, right? It's not so we only use really Shopify for the last piece and order management and so on and so forth.
This is super interesting. Well, I just have to tell you, I mean, when we were prepping this, and I saw the website, I'm like, okay, maybe pre-revenue, because it just looks so simple. But once you get in, holy mackerel, there's a lot of thought inside of this thing.
and I have to tell you, I think you're actually in an A/B test. They're seeing a version that I like least. so I wish, in a way, that you were seeing. I was like, you're showing this, and I'm like, oh shit, I wish you was showing the
How many A/B tests are you running at any given point in time?
Oof, it's quite a lot, right? The problem is that right now I can tell running 4. The problem is that depending on what you're testing, you eventually start getting a lot of cross results, and you just start needing a lot more scale to make sense of the, of the sort of the statistical stuff. Yeah.
What plugin are you using for this? A lot of people don't like some of these like review sites where they basically own all your reviews if you don't pay them massive amounts of money. What did you use to build out this sort of wall?
Yeah, I'm glad to give him a shout out, because I really like them. That's Loox, Loox, X. Yeah, yeah, I'm super happy with them. They're very good at getting videos. As you saw some on the funnel there. They're actually a plugin we use that we're very, very happy with. It's also that sometimes you deal with companies that you can just tell that they really go the extra mile. They mean business in a way, right? And it's hard to describe, but if you set up something with them, you're kind of gonna understand that they're competent, right? I don't know if I'm sure everyone has at some point dealt with just companies that you just, oh shit, and this guy's just so bad. Loox is like I'm just very, very happy with them and impressed with overall their funnels, their setup, their level of polish. It just seems like they care.
I love that. This is super, man. I'm learning so much on this. So I know my audience is going to love this. I guess, let me get a sense of how, I just asked you how many A/B tests you're running. You said 4. I mean, how aggressive are you being on your big channel, like the paid spend stuff? Are you comfortable sharing how much you're spending like per month? Is it like 6 figures on Facebook ads or less?
It honestly really depends. I think this month, yes, we're in the 6 figures. We're kind of changing it often. Oftentimes like we end up changing it back and forth.
Okay, and immediately people are going to go, well, okay, this guy must have raised a bunch of money to do that, or he's really rich, ponging his own money. Which one is it, or did I miss an option?
No, I mean, again, if you make the economics work, you don't need you kind of need either, right? I don't want to. I don't think there's such a thing as like free lunch, right? So I'm not going to tell you there's a golden pot here, you should come eat it. But it does take a lot of work, right? To build this to build it. So yes, I did put some money. I did raise a little bit of money, not a lot externally, but I'm essentially building an AI content startup. Usually, that's extremely capital intensive, and the difference with me is that I chose to go a route where instead of giving people essentially shit for free that I have to subsidize, let me come up with from day one a model that I can monetize it. So while in a sense it's more, I'm building in a more conservative manner if you think about it, because it also brings a lot of headaches because I'm constantly having to balance the long-term vision of what we're building with the short-term sort of economics. It's not always easy, but and it also feels more grounded, right? I think sometimes one thing I see in some startups is that let's put it this way, they go for bust, and that's sometimes really good, right? Because it really works, right? But then other times, you see that they launch a product and it doesn't stick, and then you spent all this money and time building something that you never had market validation, right? So I kind of was a bit more, some people would say conservative in a good way, some people would say conservative in a bad way, right? To being too conservative. But that's nonetheless what I'm doing.
And so are you comfortable sharing how much you raised in your seed round for this company?
To be honest with you, I never shared, but I can tell it was less than $1 million externally.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Well, look, I told you we would talk about where you're at today and then get your story. I got so intrigued with your story. I mean, where you are today. I didn't ask anything about your story. Let's go just backwards for a second. So Spotify 2009, then you do Kenko. I believe you did a $3.4 million, I think, raise there. It was a freeze dried smoothie based off my research. What happened to that company?
Yeah, we raised more with Kenko. I think that to be honest, top of my mind, I remember maybe 20 or 30 million the total.
Oh, wow.
For the company. Yeah, maybe you're talking about the first round, which was a 3 million round, 3 million seed round.
The seed, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's still around. I think that I've always had an interest in sort of nutrition and food tech in particular, and so I got introduced to a guy that was making some experiments with it, and I saw like an opportunity to build a service around it again, as opposed to a one-time thing. And so that's what I did. Now the company moved a little bit away from sort of direct to consumer into sort of selling on retail channels. In fact, that's also a plug I can make. You should go to Walmart or CVS and buy it. I'm still a large shareholder in the company, so I would appreciate that. But it moved away a little bit for essentially those channels, right? And so
your co-founder Thomas, he's still running it then.
Absolutely, yeah, and he's doing a great job. He's I think I'm more of a digital / technology guy. He's more of a traditional CPG guy. So we're actually a great team in that regard. But when the company, we made this decision together to move more into retail, and and I felt he's the right guy to lead it, right? And so I stepped down from the role, but no. Nothing bad happened there, right? Just basically different direction for the company that made more sense for Tomas to lead for the long run.
Yep. Super cool.
Yes,
well, hey, this is really valuable.
Go buy it at Walmart. So I feel like it was a good decision.
That's smart. Okay, cool. Last question, then I'll throw it over to you. How many folks are full time right now at the business?
Yeah, we're a very small team. We're currently 7 on the team, so very very small team. Most of them engineers. As like I said, as we build out the platform, right?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Are you using any technology to drive all the when someone clicks on one of your Facebook ads? Do they just go to your homepage, or are you doing like a bunch of funnel testing there too?
We do, but it's mostly in-house, right? It's similar to the platform we use for A/B tests. I mean, we use it's not a secret. We use PostHog for sort of data analytics and so forth. Also, shout out to them. Probably the best. I feel like every 2 years or something, there's a new shiny platform. So maybe in 2 years we talk and I'll tell a new one. But PostHog is really good. I would really recommend it. Shout out to them. And so that's kind of what we use.
Just to be clear, PostHog, you're talking this one, right? PostHog. This is their website, right?
Correct. Yeah, they're very funny too. Great. Their website is not very serious.
It's kind of cool.
Unusual. Yeah, unusual for B2B SaaS, but nonetheless, very cool.
It works. Yeah. So that's part of your tech stack. Look is part of your tech stack. Any other tech thing that you use that have just blown you away that you want to give a shout out to?
I mean, not new, right? But I think Shopify is still very good, right? I'm quite impressed with the product, and we used it, at Kenko and now for a very long time. But that's not like I guess that's not what your audience wants to hear, right? Because everyone already knows that. But still, shout out to them. I think they do a good job, and they do what they do very well.
Yeah, no, look, we love the space. I mean, you know me as podcast host because that's how your rep reached out. But my full-time thing is, we've deployed $250 million into companies as non-dilutive capital. It's my own fund. And we've just started deploying money into Shopify applications, like funding basically ad spend. Almost exactly what you're doing, right? And just undercutting Shopify money. It's a huge and powerful ecosystem. So makes tons of sense. Anything else that I should have asked you, Ricardo, that I didn't over the past 15, 20 minutes?
You should ask me if I'm hiring, because I am.
Are you hiring?
Yes, I'm hiring. So please, you can email like jobs at DreamStories.ai.
What are you looking for?
I mean, mostly engineering, right? Engineering, particularly around AI, right? Machine learning engineers, or whatever we're calling it these days, it keeps evolving. But essentially, that's what we're looking for, right? Like I said, we're the part of the business that we discuss is very much what the business is today, right? I have, like I said, this longer vision of like where I believe content generally will go in that spans beyond books and so forth. So we need people to actually execute it.
Yeah, I love that. Cool, Ricardo. Well, look, appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. Guys, I thought it was a simple website that was pre-revenue. Turns out they've done over $3 million of revenue, driven mainly using Ricardo's brain when it comes to using paid ads and their Facebook page to drive a lot of traffic, and a really impressive, almost a stupid, simple onboarding process that just feels like magic when you do it, to the point where you get a great customized sort of book. The main use case right now is kids, but who knows where he'll take it in the future. He's got his own kid he's building this for. 7 people full-time on the team, under $1 million raised. We'll see what happens next. Ricardo, thanks for taking us to the top. DreamStories.ai.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Speak soon.